International human rights law recognizes everyone's right to an adequate standard of living, including adequate housing. Despite the central place of this right within the global legal system, well over 1 billion people are not adequately housed. Millions around the world live in life or health-threatening conditions, in overcrowded slums and informal settlement, or in other conditions which do not uphold their human rights and their dignity. Further, millions are forcibly evicted or threatened with forced eviction from their homes every year. This is housing development, where we discuss housing, its affordability and accessibility to Nigerians. I am Flora, your housing diva. Let's see the trending news in the sector.
A recent survey in the real estate sector has shown that many new private estates in Abuja face poor patronage due to perceived high costs. The findings show that the rate of sales of estates flats has remained low despite flexible payment plans and juicy discount rates to attract potential buyers. As such, some of the completed estates spread across the city have remained unoccupied, with many more still under construction. Low and middle-income earners in the capital city for whom these new estates are targeted at lack the financial capacity to pay for the houses. A lot of them prefer instead to acquire land in the outskirts of the city, which they consider cheaper. These are not the best of time for town planning practice, as most of the state governments have relegated the issue of city and town master planning to the background and abused physical development. Conference of Directors and Head of Town Planning Organizations in Nigeria recently confirmed the development and lamented on the generally poor level of regulatory and institutional instruments that are available to support town planning practice in Nigeria, and observed that most settlements do not have physical development plans to guide their growth, and where available, their life period have expired. It was agreed that preparation and implementation of a mutually agreed national planning development plan be adopted as one of the tools for integrated physical planning and effective delivery of development benefits to the people of Nigeria. Recent findings have shown that uncertainties in Nigerian economy are squeezing the real estate sector, as many housing developments have been put on hold. Investigations show that most of the top office and commercial developments scheduled for completion in Nigerian cities of Lagos, Abuja, and Port Harcourt before the end of the year might not come to fruition due to paucity of funds, anti-graft war, and customers' low purchasing power. According to the principal partner, Ubosi Eli & Company, Mr. Chudi Ubosi, the totality of the environment is not conducive for real estate investments. He pointed out that despite all the positive statistics sent by the government and the Central Bank of Nigeria, the economy is still in recession and even contracting. As such, developers and investors have put their real estate projects on hold. 7 years after the Lagos Home Ownership Mortgage Scheme was proposed to encourage home ownership of first-time buyers to purchase decent and affordable homes through the provision of accessible mortgage finance, the scheme seems yet to come to life. With additional 1,000 housing units injected into the pool of housing units earlier provided by the state government, the houses were yet to be fully subscribed, even with the introduction of raffles and other strategies. Subscribers are apprehensive that they are yet to be given keys to their homes.
Welcome back. With a swelling population and increased urban migration, which has increased the deficit driven by soaring demand, just how many new housing units does Nigeria need? In 2016, the government suggested 17 million additional housing units to curb the housing shortage. Mr. Femi Adewale, the Managing Director and CEO of Family Homes Fund, will give a highlight of the activities.
The housing issue is a journey of 1,000 miles. I don't think that anybody can pretend that we're going to close the 70 million homes gap in 5 years or even 10 years. But I think what we must do and what we can do is to start moving in the right direction. And I think that the work that the Family Homes Fund is doing, along with our partners, the NMRC, the Federal Ministry of Power, Works and Housing, and a lot of other agencies who are playing in this space, I see that we are moving in the right direction. And I think if we sustain those partnerships, if we sustain those relationships, if we sustain that direction, I think we have a strong chance of closing that gap in this generation, and I think that gives me about 10-15 year period. I have had the chance of leading Africa's premium or primary housing finance organization, Shelter Africa, over the last few years, and I came into this job with a strong passion that what I want to do, and I think what Family Homes Fund is set up to do, is finally that housing can be focused on some of the people who are earning low income in a society, who are doing very important jobs for us and our family. And I think that's a driving passion for me, but that's also a driving passion for the organization that I run. The housing market comprises of a lot of segments. And our partners are doing excellent work in other segments. In the middle income segment, in the upper income segment, we are committed to doing an excellent work in providing housing that people on low income can afford.
Nigeria requires 60 million new homes to meet the immediate needs of its people, the vast majority of whom own less than $4 a day. Masaka in Nasarawa State is a typical informal settlement and a reflection of how many poor Nigerians live. Structures are haphazardly erected with no forward planning. There is little or no public services. Landlords often own whole compounds and offer little support to residents. Solomon Madaki first lived here when he arrived from Kaduna State looking for employment.
Masaka is no address. No address. Very congested. When I was living there, I have to park my car very far away from my house because no road to the house with a car. So I will show you where I lived before. This is the main compound where I was living. Like here, I was the one that made this bacha. It's just like a kitchen for me. This is the toilet, so this is where I stay before. As you can see, it's not normal person that will live in this kind of a house that will tell you that, no, I'm comfortable. It's not comfortable.
With Nigeria's population predicted to double in the next few decades, low-cost affordable housing for poor communities is set to become the fastest growing sector. The Millard Fuller Foundation, working in partnership with Family Homes Funds, believe that by operating in this vital yet underdeveloped and unpopular space, social change and business value can go hand in hand, and that housing can be used as a major catalyst to bring economic empowerment to the people. This housing project in Luvu Madaki Masaka outside Abuja has recently been acquired by Family Homes Funds, and it has been designed to allow first-time homeowners to expand and grow their homes as their means allow. A basic one-bedroom or studio apartment is provided, which can be further developed. For those struck by poverty, owning their own home seems like an unreachable dream. Solomon realized that he could have a different reality. He managed to put a finance plan in place, and he is now a proud homeowner.
This is my new home. This is where I live now. And this is my beautiful daughter. This is I and my wife. This is the size of the kitchen. Ai dama burin namiji shine ya kasance yana da gida, yana da kuma abin da zai iya ba ma iyalin shi don su ci. Baka da gurin kwana, baka da abincin ci, ai baka cika mai gida ba kenan. Idan kin duba kamar yanzu nan haka, zan iya kulle daki na yi tafiya ba mai ce min ina za ka. Na gan dama dawo karfe 30 ba mai ce ina ka fito domin me gidan nawa ne ko ba haka ba. Yanzu da ni na fita zuwa nan sai abin ya zama man kaman al'ajibi ne.
With the outlined activities of Family Homes Fund in the next couple of years, we are sure to see more low and middle income group of the society owning houses. Glad to know you're still with me. When you purchase real property such as land or a house, you receive a deed that denotes ownership. However, the law allows 2 or more people to own a property together. For married couples, should a spouse insist on having both names in the title document of the property? Let's seek the opinions of some Nigerians.
No, as long as my children are concerned, I will not include my wife, because my wife is not really. It's not from me. I don't know how to exactly put it, but because of my children, because women, they are very funny. So maybe tomorrow if I'm late now, she might like to channel the whole thing and possibly do away with my children and go with the property. So maybe, and again, maybe I marry from another tribe. Maybe let's say I'm a Midoma man and I happen to marry an Igbo person, Igbo woman. So I will not include her name, because she can do anything. Maybe if I am late, she might possibly want to do away with the children and go with the property. So she will know what I have, but her name will not be included. It will not be in my document and all that.
Sure. Why? My wife is a part of me. I see her to be me in all things. And if truly I love her, then I think I should not hide anything from her. So for that reason, my properties, she has a share.
I will certainly like to include my wife's name in all my properties, because she's a part of me. She compliments me. Yes, and if I wouldn't do that, God will hold me responsible, because God holds the family very central. It's very important to God. Should I ever die, one of the questions that God will ask me is, how do you take care of your wife? So if I don't include my wife in my properties, it means that we are not one. So we need to be one in everything.
I don't, except where it is necessary for me to include my wife or also own it. If not, I think it should just be either just my property with my name. I believe she's going to benefit from the property, since if at all we have kids with her.
Yes, I would like to have it because of my children, so that my children will inherit the property. Not at the end of everything, my husband people will come and snatch or collect the property.
Yes, I want my wife to include my name in her property, and also I want to include her name in my own property in case of my children. So I don't want her to have the access to anything about that I have on my property, so that she will be the one to let my children know how come or how I got to my property.
As a matter of fact, I do. I think where both spouses agree to have joint properties, the documentation is very critical, very key, especially considering the environment we live in, our cultures, So I believe, I'm an advocate that both parties should have their name properly written, full names, no initials, full names stated properly on the document, so that there is no ambiguity as to who is who, especially where you have a situation where the man has other wives or something. Both parties must have their names properly written on the documents.
Well, the decision of both names on title documents, I may say, is personal and unique to every couple. Let's get a legal perspective as Barrister Victor Nodi speaks more on it.
Couples do come together to acquire properties. Couples do set up businesses together. They could float a company together and they're both directors, chairman, vice chairman, or MD, deputy MD. And of course, that means they'll both do their work, make their input. You see, when couples come together to acquire properties, most times they don't get to talk about the quantum of contributions each make. That is always lost in the whole arrangement. Nobody talks about, oh, my wife brought 40%, I brought 60. Oh, this property belongs to Mr. and Mrs. A and B. That's what you get to hear most times, or you get to see. So, when problem does occur, for example, let me give you some situations that problem can come up. One, the couple might fall out, and they decide to go their separate ways. Maybe through divorce, or they just separate and they don't bother to go for divorce. And when they do separate, now what happens? What becomes of the property they both acquire jointly? I know situations has arisen where the wife will say, look, I don't want to have anything to do with this man anymore. I want the property partition. That's how the law explains it. Partition means sell it and we share it equally. Or lease it out, we share the proceeds equally. Don't use it except I also have a right. You seek my consent. Don't use it for a loan. Don't use it as a collateral without my consent. And of course, if you are going to sell it, it must have our joint signatures. You see the complexities that comes from there. My advice, really, with uncertainties in the society we live in, I will advise that people should be more circumspect. They should not be in a hurry to go into joint ownership of properties. They should not be in a hurry to go into joint ownership of accounts. It doesn't stop anything. It doesn't affect your relationship with your spouse if you decide to have a distinct account, a separate account from your spouse's. If you choose to do joint ownership of properties, and because of emotions and for whatever reasons, do tidy up other details. You are going to buy properties with your spouse, let it show from the documentation that you are both involved. But if everything else comes to, like they would say, if the push comes to shove, then you resort to the court. You might be, as a matter of factly, a co-owner of the properties. But because you don't do some of these little things that needed to be done at inception, you cannot really prove your case in court. And then you will now have problem of course. Sorry, this is not a Father Christmas. You don't come here to come and get. You see, if you say you are a co-owner, on what basis am I going to base my decision? That's where I said, be careful to do the little things that matter.
There is a popular saying that says, what God has joined together, let no man put asunder. All right, that said, let's check our mailbox for your comments.
chair the Committee on Housing of the Federal House of Representatives. I enjoyed the housing development program on IIT, and I encourage Nigerians to key in, make sure they watch it, as it's entertaining, educative, and will provide an avenue to see how we can key in and make sure that we reached our target goals of housing in Nigeria.
You're watching Housing Development. Do you need a house in a serene environment? Then let's see the Prominent Estate Limited. This estate is located in Lokogoma, Abuja. It is a 3-minute drive to Galadima roundabout, 10 minutes to Central Business District, 15 minutes to Maitama, and 20 minutes to Abuja Airport. The estate is in the midst of already existing estates and private houses. The location is calm regarding serenity and privacy from noise pollution. The estate facilities are paved roads, perimeter fencing, street lights, drainage, connection to electricity, connection to water, private parking spaces, cleaning and waste management, 24-hour security, water treatment, sewage treatment, cleaning of common areas, green areas, and landscaping. The Prominent Estate is developed by Urban Shelter Limited, one of Nigeria's largest real estate developers.
We all know home ownership in Nigeria can be particularly difficult for a number of reasons, and I won't go into it. But what we've done as a management team and as in part of Urban Shelter is to really sit down and think to ourselves, well, how do we facilitate that problem? Because it is essentially a challenge. And the most things is we realize a number of developers, you have to pay within 3 months, 6 months, or 12 months. So we sat down to really think of a model that would suit. And as far as I know, Urban Shelter is the only company today. We introduced the 5-year repayment plan. This is not a mortgage. There are no interest charges. There are no hidden fees. We go through applications and we see clients that are eligible, and really you are entitled to get a 5-year payment plan on most of our projects. Now, we also sat down to say, how else can we diversify this project? And we developed something called a stay and pay concept, where by the time you pay 2nd to 3rd year of your payment, we will actually allow you to move into your property and pay off the balance while you're enjoying that property with your family. Of course, there are terms and conditions, but again, we have found that this has added that flexibility in home ownership.
My name is Chief Dr. A.C. Okafo, Chairman of Chikasim Group. So my message to Nigerian workers is to keep on watching housing program.
So keeping a date, you can send your comments, your opinions to the email address on your TV screen. For coverage of your housing events, you can call us on 081-665-70090. I remain Flora, your housing diva. God bless our dear country, Nigeria.